is the best.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the final show of season 1 of Shear Chat, right here from the Shear Chat studios of Washington, D.C. I am your host, Rashawn Broadnex, and again, I have my lovely co-host, Miss Kenya Metters here. We are here for the final show of the season, as we said, so this show is going to be a little bit different for you guys. You've met Kenya before. We've talked about lots of things with her. So you already know her, so there's no need to go through all those preliminaries and formalities. Tonight we have a full show of the hot topics or as I like to call it, the tea.
Ooh.
I love the tea. So sit back and enjoy as we bring you the tea on this evening. Kenya, do you have your topics ready?
Oh, you know I got my tea.
Okay, I have my topics ready. But you know what? I did want to start out, and I wanted to say thank you to everybody who came on the show this season, who shared with me, who shared, their personal stories, who shared their products and, their talent with us. So thank you to all you guys who appeared in season 1. I did want to have a full reunion, but, I didn't plan that out just as I wanted to. So stay tuned for the full reunion for season 2, which will be coming up in 2 weeks. We'll be starting that in 2 weeks. So as we wrap up season 1, I did want to say this weekend was kind of tumultuous. We got some news that was just kind of a little, I don't even know what you want to call it. It was kind of surprising, not yet surprising, but it just made me feel kind of way. So I found out that one of our great educators, Miss Buntricia Bastian, is in the hospital, and she is in Florida. She's going to try to make it up here to D.C., once they release her from the hospital. So we're looking forward to seeing her here. We're going to wish her many prayers and Godspeed as she makes this travel and hope that she is able to get here sometime this week. So we'll keep you updated on that. And as we move forward, let's go right along with the show, Kenya.
Okay.
What should we talk about first?
Let's start with you want to jump into Kim K and Donald Trump? Or?
Let's do that.
Okay, so Kim Kardashian met with President Donald Trump this week, as a lot of people knew about prison reform. And it stirred up a lot of controversy. So what do you think about the whole Kim K meeting with Trump?
My feeling about that was simply this. I'm glad that she wants to use her celebrity status for something worthy and something, really honorable. I think that, to me, it was more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was on the heels of the whole Kanye and Donald Trump thing.
I agree.
So what I believe would have been a much better showing is if she had gone, because she's a notable person, so it's great that she went, but also you had some other people to stand by you and to also back up what you were trying to present to him.
Right.
Actual political people, so that they can say, yes, this is actually a good idea. We should move forward with something, move forward with what you're presenting to the president. I think that would have given her a little more of a sounder footing, because we haven't heard anything else about it. It was just like a photo op. She took a picture with him, and that's all we've heard.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on it? What did you think about her visit to the White House?
Honestly, the same thing like you said. I think that there's definitely more to it. Mm-hmm. I think that it's disgraceful that like you said, I think that if you're a celebrity, try your best to use your platform to make a difference in the world, which is great. But like you said, I think that there definitely is more to it, especially with everything that happened with Kanye and his support for Trump. So it's kind of like she's trying to do like a black thing, in my opinion, because mass incarceration disproportionately affects African Americans, at a higher rate than white Americans.
Absolutely.
So I think that she's trying to like kind of So like, hey, I'm on the black side. You know, me and Kanye, we still on the black side.
Right.
I don't appreciate that there have been several people who have been fighting for this um, reform, and nothing has changed except when she comes into the office. Now all of a sudden it's national attention,
Right,
national
it's a whole
news.
highlight.
Yes.
So now, do you think that there will be any change?
I think that because honestly, right now she's lobbying to get a certain woman pardoned who was tied up in
it was a cocaine ring.
Cocaine ring, but she never did drugs. She never killed anybody.
And it was actually her first offense.
First offense, money laundering. So I think that, yes, she will get pardoned because of that. But as far as, it's like, what about everything else? What about
everybody else?
Everybody else, you know. So honestly, I'm confused as to why this woman in particular and everything, but we'll see.
Well, the thing with that was, and I wish I could remember her name offhand, but I will, you know, post that along with the credits, of not the credits, but you'll see it go across the screen. But she said, one of the things that stood out to me was Kim K said, I would like to do this once a year. Okay. And so to me, it was like, I guess like her charity, her good deed for the year that she was trying to, and I said, you know, to me, it's not something that you can pinpoint and say, oh, I want to do this once a year. You have to do it when it's necessary.
Right.
You know, exactly. So after you do it this year, if the young lady gets out this month, what are you going to do for the rest of the year?
Right.
You know, do you take a back seat until 2019 and say, okay, now I get back into it? So I feel like while the intent may be there, the intent may be good, I think that, like we said at the beginning, it's a little more to it.
Right.
It's a little more to it. So I'm waiting to see what's going to come from that in the next couple of months and probably over the next year or so.
Right.
But speaking of Kim K and Kanye, so you know he has this #1 album now, Daytona. Okay, so now the big controversy, and you know what, this kind of touched me. And I'm not going to say, I don't want to say touch, because touch is like that word when you say, oh, it touched me. I think it upset me.
Okay.
Because on the album cover for Daytona, do you know what the picture was?
Wasn't it Whitney Houston?
I could throw this iPad on the floor.
You love Whitney.
How dare you try to besmirch the memory of Whitney Houston by posting a picture of her bathroom? And it's not just her bathroom, but it was the bathroom that a family member took a picture of, you know, at the time of her death. So the drugs were there and all that. And then, so just to put that out to me, that really bothered me. And it showed me, again, the type of person that he is. What are your thoughts on that real quick?
Honestly, I used to love Kanye when I was in like junior high school and everything, and even high school. And then all of a sudden, like, the mother passed. And after that, like, you just saw the like direct just change.
Spiral.
You know, he married an airhead.
Of all the things he's done, he's married an airhead.
He married an airhead. He started having beef with people he shouldn't have had beef with, like, and it's just crazy. He just said today that he felt like mixed children look better than children that are a product of two black people.
Well, first of all, you know, when it comes to things that he said, after he said that slavery was a choice, I just had to, you know,
he's lost his mind.
Basically.
He's lost his mind, and as of now, I can't support you promoting or even, like, I feel like insulting Whitney Houston, like, her legacy. You chose to use that, her biggest downfall,
worst moment
in life, as a tool for promotion for you, and I can't respect it.
Right.
So Kanye.
And the thing that, as we get ready to go to commercial, the thing that really upset me about it was the album was already planned out. They already had the artwork done. He made this decision at 1:00 in the morning to change the album cover and Lord, I can't remember the actual guy who did the work on it. Pusha T.
Okay, right.
He said, I'm not going to endorse you changing the cover.
Right.
I'm not going to change it. Kanye paid $85,000 to have this changed. And because, mind you, where we are in the timeline, this album is about to drop. So you got to change it real quick. And he said this erratic change, and then not only that, you paid a family member of Whitney Houston. See, and that's the problem that I had also. A family member took that photo for what? Number one. But then you sold it off.
Mm-hmm.
How low can you be? I'm just going to leave it right there because I got Whitney's back. Girl, I got your back.
That's right. That's Auntie Whitney.
Exactly. I got your back. So we're going to stop right there for a moment. We're going to go to a commercial and we'll be back in just a few minutes with the final show of season 1 of Shear Chat. I'm Rashawn Broadnax and this is Kenya Meadows and we will be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This is the final show for season 1 of Shear Chat. I'm Rashawn Broadnax and this is Kenya Meadows. So we just came off of our hot topic of the new Kanye Daytona album and the artwork that changed at 1 o'clock in the morning. And our next topic is none other than the Screaming Queen, Roseanne Barr. Now, let me just say, I was shocked.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of people said they weren't shocked,
Mm-hmm.
I was still shocked about Roseanne. So in case you have been living under a rock and you have no idea what we're talking about, the Roseanne Barr show was just recently canceled because she made some racist comments against who, to me, I count as a very dear person to me. Obama's senior advisor, Miss Valerie Jarrett. She made some bad comments about her, talking about she looked like the product of a Muslim and an ape. Which to me, first of all, I couldn't understand that. I'm like, I didn't get that. So when she came out later and said she was on Ambien, I kind of believe it because I'm like, I don't understand what you are. Like, how did you even get that correlation? But as she made that comment, ABC canceled her show. And which I think rightfully so. I really believe it. And a lot of people said, well, not well, but they said good for ABC and that you can't make comments about black women when the black woman is going to sign your check. And so I thought that ate it. That comment right there, that ate it. But I could not believe that she did that. Right. What did you think?
Honestly, I grew up watching Roseanne, and that's the furthest thing I didn't expect that. Like, I still don't know the as of why she said it, like where it came from.
She said that she was on Ambien.
So she just literally woke up and just tweeted that. It's
like, now I've heard this before where people say they tweet while they are on various medications, and it's kind of crazy.
That explains Trump.
It could.
Yeah, he's on Ambien.
But then, I mean, he's always on Ambien, right? He is always on Ambien. But, so I just thought, like, for her, it was just shocking. But go ahead.
Yeah, it was shocking. Honestly, I was looking forward to the reboot of Roseanne, and it's like, we didn't even get, into it.
Well, they had one season, and I'm very much with you. I love Dan.
Right.
I love Jackie, because Jackie to me was great. I love the daughter, what was that, Darlene. I liked Becky. I liked all of them. And I was really looking forward, even though I had missed the first season, I was looking forward to kind of catching up and seeing what was going to happen on the show. And the actress that plays Darlene was on her show today, and she said, while she felt really bad that all of the actors and actresses that are going to be on the show and those who work behind the scene are all going to or have essentially lost their job right now, she said, I still stand behind ABC for the decision that they made because they're making the right decision. They're putting their foot down when it comes to those type of comments. And some people said, well, that was Roseanne's personal Twitter account.
Right.
You know, how can you censor her account?
Right.
My response to that was, when you reach a certain level, any level, you know, because a lot of people say, well, I'm not at that level. I believe that when you're on any level of public notoriety, you have to be cautious of the things that you put out on social media, that you just put out in the atmosphere in general. And I was sharing with someone the other day, there are a lot of times that I pick up my phone and I'm like, I want to put this on Facebook, but I stop myself because I said, would that comment change the way people view me overall? Because our words do change, you know, people's perception.
Right.
So, you agree?
I agree. I believe that, especially with this new age of social media, and whenever you're ready to post something, you have to think about what state you're in. Are you angry? Are you overexcited? Are you sad? You have to think about something 3 times before you say it or post it. Like,
That's
literally think
thought.
about it 3 times. You know, and of course Roseanne didn't, do that.
Well, I think like with Twitter and similarly Donald Trump, when you are on Twitter, that's just like that. It's not like Facebook where we tend to post more pictures. It's not like Instagram. It's just that quick message type thing. And I think a lot of people do make those messages impulsively. And so I don't think that she thought about what she was doing. It was just like a react. I said before, a knee-jerk reaction. Somebody was like, no, that is not knee-jerk. She thought about that because that was her actual thoughts. You know, that's how she actually thinks about people.
Right.
And so I just thought it was kind of sad. I am glad that ABC did put their foot down and they are standing for the fact that they are going to be non-tolerant against that type of activity.
Right.
So.
And I'm glad we've came a long way as a country, you know, to back then where this would be acceptable.
Right.
And that was only maybe 50, 60 years ago, you know, so I'm glad that we've came a long way, you know, to put an end to that. I wish that the Trump allegations about him, you know, with the porn star and him doing this and this, I wish they would take that more serious, you know, shut him down, you know.
Well, I think, you know, in terms of that, I don't think we're seeing what's really happening. I believe there's a lot more happening behind the scenes, and it needs to stay that way so that it can proceed the way it needs to. You know, everything can't be done out in the open.
Right.
And, you know, just, you know, oh, we're doing this, we're doing it. Some things you have to keep the surprise. The element of surprise is everything.
Right.
And so I believe that the Justice Department is working behind the scenes, you know, quietly to get things done. And we're going to see the outcome of that.
Hopefully.
You know, and I that's what I believe.
Right.
Because I'm just like, I don't believe that legally the things that he's been accused of,
they can just sweep it under a rug.
Yeah, that it's, and just like this morning, I don't know if you guys had seen this. This morning, he put out a statement that he felt he could pardon himself.
He's arrogant.
He's crazy. He said that
he's on Ambien.
Yes, Ambien is the reason for everything. He said, I can pardon myself. And so one of the pundits on CNN said, well, if you can pardon yourself, that really essentially means you're above the law. So you can do whatever you want. And I said, well, that kind of is congruent with how he thinks, because he does think that he can do anything. But I believe that he knows he's in trouble a little bit with what's going on, and that's why he's making all these moves. You know, he's saying the things that he's saying. Like Kellyanne Conway came out this morning and commented on that back and was like, oh no, that was a hypothetical situation. And they're like, okay, so first of all, you tell us we shouldn't listen to what he's saying. Then you tell us that we should listen to what he's saying. Now you're telling us, well, then you say that we shouldn't listen to hypotheticals, but this is a hypothetical and we're supposed to believe. So they're all over the place, you know, which is unfortunate for the White House, because if nothing else, as a country, we need to be able to look towards the president and the White House for, you know, our footing where we need to be. And I think they are all over the place, and that's why the country is in the state that it's in right now.
Right.
So we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to come back with our last segment of the evening. Oh my goodness, the show is going by so fast. And
let's make it an hour. Let's go into overtime.
Oh, wait a minute. See, she wants to go into... Oh, and I have to talk to y'all about my new thing that's going to be coming up. Okay. So anyway, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be back. I am Rashawn. This is Kenya, and this is the final show of Shear Chat Season 1. We'll be back in a moment. So let's... Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the final segment of the evening. This is Shear Chat with Rashawn. I am Rashawn Broadnex. This is Kenya Metters, and we are here for the final segment of Season 1. It has been an amazing season. So we're going to get right to our ending topic. We had one of our watchers give us a suggestion to talk about the LeBron James, I don't know what we want to call it. Have you seen it, Kenya?
I did.
First of all, I loved it.
It was cute.
I loved it. I thought that it was great to see somebody who we don't get a chance to see be fashionable, actually be fashionable. Like, I think he had the outfit that he had on was straight magazine cover.
Very GQ.
Right.
I don't think that it was, some people were like, it was feminine. I don't think it was feminine at all.
No.
Like, it was a purse, but it wasn't a purse.
No.
It was more like a
designer
bag.
Right. It was too
but
big
not
to be a purse.
Exactly. And the shape of it.
Exactly.
And then the shorts were not like high shorts.
Exactly.
They were like, you know.
It was a short suit.
Right.
You know, that's what it was. It was a short suit. Because when I looked at that, I said, no shade, Kenya, that's what I'm going to wear to your party. I did.
With
exactly. So I thought that was amazing. So, I'm sorry? Oh. I don't know who that is.
He started it.
Oh, he did it first.
Okay, so
Cam
our producer
Newton.
Jeffrey is saying Cam Newton. And I was like, well, who is that? But
LeBron's bigger.
Yes.
And, you know.
But then realistically,
Right.
people have been doing that for a long time.
Right.
You know, it's just that we don't see it in mainstream. And like I said, because he's an athlete, I think that people were shocked by it in the bag. And it wasn't a black bag. He looked very well put together, in my opinion. He had on a nice shoe boot. He had on a sock. You know, he had on his shorts. He had on a blazer, a shirt, and a tie. And the suit was like a grayish color. The boot was black socks, but the bag was green. And so here we go back to color blocking. I got excited. I did get excited. But I love a bag. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my God.
We have to find out who his stylist was.
Exactly.
And shout out to LeBron's stylist.
First of all, exactly. You
Kudos.
slayed that.
You slayed that.
I thought that was amazing. So let's see, what else do we have before we end out the show this season?
We're going to discuss Morgan Freeman.
Oh, okay. So Morgan. So hot on the heels of Bill Cosby, all of a sudden, here comes Driving Miss Daisy, Morgan Freeman.
Lean on Me.
That was Joe Clark. That wasn't Morgan Freeman. Lean on Me.
Clark was his real, the fake name. That
wasn't Morgan Freeman.
Wasn't that Morgan Freeman?
She's not from New Jersey.
That was
she gonna try to tell me, did you know I'm from New Jersey? That was Fair East Side. By the sun we stand and always
praise
thy name, praise thy name, praise thy name. Okay, that's enough of that. That was it. That was my movie.
What was his name?
It was Morgan.
It was Morgan Freeman. I
did not know that. Okay.
He said, "You smoke crack, don't you?" I know Morgan Freeman when I.
The great year.
Okay,
right,
because I was like, I could not imagine.
That was Die.
Okay. So hot on the heels of Bill Cosby, you know, and him, I was going to say unfortunately, but him going through everything with the case and being convicted. Here we have Morgan Freeman. And now when I watched a couple of the interviews with Morgan Freeman and the women were talking about how he treated them, there was unwanted touching. He said that there were a lot of comments.
Mm-hmm.
That was the major thing, was the comments. And one young lady said she had interviewed him a couple of times, and she actually had footage from one interview of an outfit that she had on. And as she was talking to him, it was him and two other gentlemen. He was like looking her up and down, and you could see his eyes. And when she made some comment, I forget what it was, he said, something about that dress. And so there was a lot of comments about the clothing that women wore. And I just found that to be kind of, it was kind of surprising, from Morgan Freeman. But I'm starting to wonder, is that a culture within Hollywood? Is that something that's just there and, it's always been there and people have just dealt with it, and now because we're on the heels of these things coming out, everybody, well, not everybody, but, people are starting to throw it out there, and they're going to start throwing people under the bus saying, hey, Harvey Weinstein, hey, Bill Cosby, hey, Morgan Freeman, who's
Kevin
next?
Spacey.
Kevin Spacey. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's Ambien.
Lord, everything is Ambien.
It's Ambien.
Honey, when I go off with somebody, I'm going to say, child, it was Ambien. It was Ambien.
I think that there is definitely a culture, the Hollywood, it's just known. Everyone knows it. I think that back then, before like a lot of sexual harassment laws and everything came into place, everything was acceptable, everything was normal. You kind of had to do whoever could get you in that position you wanted. You kind of had to just do what they wanted. And like you said, now times have changed. And I've only seen one of the interviews with Morgan Freeman and the accuser. And in my opinion, he didn't say anything wrong. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Which one?
They were talking about pregnancy, and then he was like, "Oh, I would love to be there." That's what he said.
Oh, yes.
But I didn't understand it.
He was making so the inference was that he would have loved to be there during the time when she got pregnant. So meaning during the midst of that sexual act. Excuse me, I think that was where it's kind of like a gray area. It's a very slim gray area. So I could see how you could not, but then also I did understand how the lady took it that way. And then also on, with all the other allegations, it just makes it seem a little strange. Like I could say, well, maybe not. But then when I started hearing some of the other allegations, I was like, okay, now wait a minute. You got a lot going on.
Right.
And
exactly.
to me, he was very free about it.
Exactly.
It was
he was
just
around
like,
two other men.
He just said it.
On camera.
Right.
And, that's what I'm saying. This is just not enough for me. Like, not saying, and I don't want to sound like that, like, where I'm like, he has to actually touch you, or he has to say something like super sexual. But this is just like, it's not enough for me for you guys to say, we're canceling every endorsement he has and
very true.
Everything.
And I think that's why that hasn't happened. But I think what's happening is we're seeing the groundwork. Just like with Bill Cosby or Harvey Weinstein, and we can, after this, talk real quick about Bill Clinton. But it all started with small allegations, and then these cases built. Just like with Bill Cosby, it was the one lady first. And she told her story, and we were like, wow, this lady is coming out. Then all of a sudden it was 2. Then it was 3. Then it was the 5, the 10, and all the way up to 50.
It's crazy.
So I think with the young lady, the reporter putting out there that this is what happened to her, and the other people saying, yes, also this happened to me. It's laying the groundwork for other people to then say, hey, yes, it did happen to me as well.
Me too.
Right.
So do you think that with like Bill Cosby, because he's supposed to be sentenced soon, do you think that they're going to give him prison time?
I think so. I think that they almost have to.
Mm-hmm.
Because after all this has come about, I think that they would have to give him something. And even if they say, hey, because these things were many years ago, time has passed, you've already been convicted really in the court of public opinion. It's out that you were doing this. You have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, well, the man is 80. If he gets the full 30 years that they say would be the max that he could get, he'll be 110 when he gets out if he lives that long. So 9 times out of 10, he's going to die in jail. I think that they would give him some time so that it would kind of, I hate to use the word appease, but it would satisfy the accusers that he actually did go to jail. Now, of course, we know Bill Cosby, he's not going to the penitentiary. So my first thought was, well, they may give him house arrest.
Mm-hmm.
But then house arrest, is that really any type of, are you really serving anything when you're on house arrest, when you're at that level? Because everything that he could possibly want, he could get
mm-hmm.
on house arrest.
Right.
For you and I, it may be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for him at that level, that would be almost like being free.
Right.
And so I think they have to give him something in order to satisfy the nature of the situation. But then speaking of, Bill Clinton, did you hear about the whole thing now? He did an interview where they were saying that he never apologized to Monica Lewinsky. So as you know, we are at the 20th anniversary of the whole Clinton-Lewinsky scandal. He said, I did not have relations with that woman.
Right.
And he denied the whole thing for a long time. And then to make matters worse, Hillary really railed against her. Hillary dragged that lady in the media and called her a liar, and all this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, it turned out to be true.
Mm-hmm.
So that was humble pie that she had to eat.
Mm.
Clinton was then later impeached because he lied, and so I felt bad for Monica, because what do you do after that?
Right.
You're almost like public pariah.
Right.
Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to deal with you. Like, what kind of work can you do after that? And so when she wrote her book, that was like the big thing. But what else is she supposed to do for money?
She can do hair.
No, she didn't. Did you see Monica's hair? I looked at those
I thought
pictures.
she was cute.
And I was
She had
like,
a little
girl,
black
Monica.
bob. That was so 90s though at the time. No? Okay.
I was like, girl, no.
Okay.
But the point to all of that was, does he owe her an apology?
Yes.
So now
You think Monica was literally went up to Bill and said, "Let me give it to you"?
Well, no. But what I see, that's a difficult situation because
He lied about it and said we didn't do it. I get it. He had to lie for the public, but at the end of the day, he let her get dragged like that.
Right.
He could have set her up. He could have made it go away quietly. Set her up with some kind of job at maybe a low-key lobby firm.
Right.
I know a lot of White House interns,
Mm-hmm.
From college. And it's like I can't imagine something like that happening to one of my friends.
Okay, so now let me ask you this. What do you think Monica's part in the whole thing was? And then we'll actually get to the actual point of me bringing that up.
At the end of the day, she was an intern. So I'm assuming she was no more than 22, 23.
Okay.
You know how old
I think
she
she was like 24. Let's say
24?
between
She was
22
young.
and 25.
Compared to a 40-something-year-old man at the time, maybe 50-something-year-old man.
Right.
So, of course, he is running game on her.
Mm-hmm.
Who wouldn't, with her, who knows what he was telling her?
Well, see, I looked at it like this. I said, I'm with you because I believe he had his part because he probably introduced the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But she probably said, this is the president and I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I believe that she was a little excited about doing it because it happened more than once. They said that it happened more than once. And the fact of the matter is, this whole thing only came out because the evidence was on the dress.
Right.
Which was the scandalous part.
Right.
Monica, did you do that on purpose, girl? So, my thing was, okay, after, she has been dragged publicly, Bill Clinton said, well, I apologize. I apologize to everybody. I apologize to the American people. I apologize to her and her family when I did my whole, public apology thing. The whole conversation at this point is, but Bill, do you think you owe her a personal apology? Do you think you owe her a call to say, hey, I'm really sorry for everything that happened. I couldn't stand up as the president and say, this is what I had done. So I allowed everybody to go against you. And I knew the truth. And I allowed it. And I allowed you to be shamed in public. But for that, I am sorry.
Right.
Do you think he owes that to her?
Absolutely. Like he definitely does. And she owes Hillary an apology for messing with the married man. They both, there's no one is right in this situation. And it's been 20 years, but that doesn't mean it's too late to apologize.
Okay, so now you said she owes Hillary an apology. Do you think that Hillary owes her an apology?
Yes.
Okay, because that was another topic that came up recently, saying that since Hillary had, since we're in the times of this Me Too movement, and that could have surely been a part of it, where he used his influence and his power to get her to do this. Do you think Hillary, because you shamed her in public, that you owe her an apology?
Absolutely. Because you know why? Michelle Obama would never do that.
Well, first of all, Barack would never do
never do that. Michelle would never do it. It just seems very mean girl-ish to do something like that. You know what?
When a lot of people say, a lot of people often talk about our former president and wife and family and talk about how, upstanding they were. And a lot of things were like, they would never do that. I thought about that and I said to myself, and I don't want you guys to take this as a racial comment, but I find that African American people, we are very concerned about how we appear before people and what their thoughts are of us. So I think we are a lot of times more mindful of some things that we do, whereas others are not, because they are used to being in positions of the upper hand, or where they're able to get away with certain things,
right,
and not have to really think about the consequences.
Right.
So a lot of times, like I look at Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and even the kids, and look at how they presented themselves. And yes, while they may have been very poised people, and just very gracious and graceful, I wonder if that was a big part of it, where they consciously said, we have to be mindful of the things that we do, of the face that we present, because if anything, we will be judged the harshest.
I absolutely agree. There was no room for any mistakes. And unfortunately, that's like the harsh reality of being Black in America. We don't have times for mistakes because our mistakes lead to prison time and harsher,
punishment.
Just consequences. And we don't have time for that. We have to keep it pushing. So I definitely agree with that. Like Pusha T. Oh, we gonna talk about Pusha T and Drake. Can we talk about Drake's son?
Oh, wait a minute. See, well, first of all, the grandfather said he don't know nothing about it.
Well, supposedly they're paying the baby mother $50,000 a month.
Okay,
to
so
be
before
quiet.
you go into that, tell the
Okay.
people the backstory. What is it all
The
about?
backstory: Drake and Pusha T got into it. I guess they've been beefing for maybe a little over a year or so. And Pusha T's rap, he came out with a verse saying, "You don't even take care of the son that you have. You need to raise your son and stop hiding him." And supposedly Drake impregnated a stripper and has been paying her $50,000 a month to keep it on the low. And she signed a non-disclosure agreement.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
Mm. I don't feel like Pusha T would put something like that out.
$50,000
Well,
a month.
He's making.
I still don't want to
10
give
times
nobody
that a month.
$50,000.
Well, if you don't want nobody to know you have a son with somebody you don't want to have a son by, then maybe.
But my thing is, it's going to eventually come out.
True.
So why not just? I mean, see, and this again, proves my point previously that we talked about. You have to own up to your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not who you would want to have a child with, then you need not be doing those activities. But because you did, you have to accept the consequences of whatever it is that you have done and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of this $50,000 a month and hiding it, 50,000 times 12 times 18, no ma'am.
If you don't want a child with him, wrap it up.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up the show this evening because we are out of time. But before we go, we opened our show, or I'll say we opened our season with a champagne toast, and I thought it would only be fitting if we closed our season with the same. Ooh, this is fancy. This is not like the regular little twist top that we had before. This is new. Okay, so what do you got? Let's see. So we want to say here's to a great season 1.
Yes.
Looking forward to season 2. And thank you to everybody who joined us. Jeffrey, do you want to join us do you have a glass?
Oh, wow.
So everybody, throughout the whole of season 1, the person behind the camera has been Jeffrey Brown as our production assistant. He's been working everything behind the cameras during the show, so we're going to ask him to join us as we pop the cork for the ending of the season. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Oh no.
Okay.
They're so funny.
Hopefully, no humans will make harm in the making of this.
I know, because this is some
That
new
is
stuff.
fancy. I've never seen that.
Okay.
I know I'm a drinker.
Wait a minute, and then how about you keep?
Well,
That's childproof. That's
as
what
he
it
gets
is.
this prepared, I would like to say it was a pleasure to be being behind the scenes, putting everything together, and helping out as much as I can. Kenya, you have been a fabulous co-host. Rashawn, I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
And I wish you much success as you enter into season 2.
Season 2, and I'm not going to shake this because I don't want it to go.
Please don't.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Woo!
I love it. I love it.
I thought it was going to be like,
No, ma'am.
That was part of the
that's how it is in
Who's
Drake's
going to clean that up?
Drake.
I hope it's
Drake.
It was the Aries.
I hope
It was the ambient. It was the ambient.
I hope this glitter is like nah.
It was the ooh.
Target $4.
How many you get?
All right, so as we close out the season, we want to say thank you all to everyone for joining us. We hope to see you in season 2. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And that's it.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Good night.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Clinkety, clinkety, clink.
I would like to give a toast.
Oh, come on. Give it up.
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Okay.